Hello there. So, as you can see, this is me reacting to XP to level 3. This video's comment section. Now, it's an odd thing to say, but I wanted to talk about this, and this is a great way to talk about some of my feelings about Baldur's Gate 3 in a so sort of like rambly fashion, a random ramblings, as you may say. And so, yeah. His video was about, as you can say, this part of Baldur's Gate 3 makes sense, and to just sum it up, he has an issue with how Karlach, Gortash, and Zariel relate to each other, in more specifically Zariel and her characterization within Baldur's Gate 3. The issue being is that Zariel seems to not fit with her other, canon appearances, and Descent into Versus is one of those things that show her character off well, at least to XP to level 3 does. And so yeah, the issues that he has is that Zariel apparently, and I'm not really a big expert at this, but since he knows more than me, he's actually, engaged with the character outside of Baldur's Gate 3, as that Zariel is depicted as a angel who's fallen, but who still has some sort of twisted form of justice. That she won't conscript any random peasant that she finds. She'll only script people who are A, willing, and who are B, or 2, actually capable of fighting in the Blood War, the internal war between devils and demons. So yeah, that's the whole basic gist that he dislikes. He does go into more detail, and you should watch the video itself. It's in the description down below. And yeah, but I wanted to talk about some of the comment section because I feel like it misses the point of what his video was about and what his actual points were. Some even just who seemingly commented before he made the point that they think they got him on. And so yeah, and also, yeah, I didn't also engage with the video as well in a comment and whatnot. I'm not going to go over that. Which I find it interesting, and I wanted to also express some of my similar issues to it, and why I think Zariel, for example, is a bit weird in Baldur's Gate 3. But we'll get to that now. So, comment section. Okay, so I'm not going to go through every single one, only ones that are notable, such as the ones that are highly engaged with, like this one. So I feel like Zariel taking an entire city full of innocents just because a few of them betrayed her shows that her grasp on her old mortality is pretty much eroded away or entirely gone. Now the replies did also mention why this guy is Ron, but let's just look here quickly. So as you can see, I pulled up this specific section because this literally addresses what the guy says.
Indeed, ventured Descent into Avernus, she brings down all of Elturel, a whole city, because, spoilers for this book, Craig, Mia, Spencer, Colton, get out of here. Don't watch this part. Because she made a deal with the High Overseer to save his city. He was desperate, the city was attacked by vampires for no reason, and she intervened. It's very similar to her own story. Thing is, she had a special interest in Elturel because, the Hellriders who betrayed her when she first descended. She's got this sick view on justice that turns into petty revenge when she wants the entire city to suffer her same fate. Because she knows she's a monster. She's like, I'm gonna help you now, but because of that thing you did that one time a long time ago where you all promised that you were going to help me fight back the entire horde of demons and devils, I'm going to bring you down here so that you act good on that. And Thavius Krieg wants to hold on to his power and doesn't want to tell anybody that he made a deal with an archdevil, so oops, there it goes. I think...
Yeah, so as you can see here, this comment's a bit wrong because, well, as the guy explained, she had a contract with him. She made a deal. She didn't do it unprompted. The guy asked her to do it, and then she did it. Obviously, she has a lot more interest in it, but it's still within the bounds of, contracts and stuff, which is the whole devil motif and whatnot, which is a bit weird to misunderstand, and I'll get to the broader point of what I want to say a bit now after we get into a few comments. But this is one of the weird things that I see with a lot of Baldur's Gate sort of criticism videos, especially this one, which is a lot of it has to be prefaced with the game's the best. It's the best game ever. It's the best game that'll ever exist. Larian is literally the one and true savior of humanity. And if Baldur's Gate 3 was a person, I would actually marry a Baldur's Gate 3. I would abandon my children. I would abandon my wife. I would literally just be married to Baldur's Gate 3. That's how much in love I am. And he does this to quite a bit, which I don't think was necessary, right? Why do you need to preface that unless you think that people will just assume you're biased and hating and whatnot? Because to me that indicates something, a bit of an issue, which is if you cannot accept even dumb criticism of the game and just move on from that. It feels like that the game, when it does have issues, you'll ignore it and not actually engage with it, which is a bit of a weird thing that I find with a lot of some Baldur's Gate videos. And then next one. On Zariel, it seems out of character to me. In the Center of Furnace, Zariel made a deal with this. This is quite a long bit, but it seems like it generally agrees. Just move on from that. Over here. They made it clear that Zariel needed a test for her engine and had been working to steal from other archdukes in the Hells, and while it's never explicit, Karlach was young, experienced, and trusting. Gortash could have easily have gotten herself to offer herself without realizing it. Now the issue with this one is, why does Zariel want like a random person? Right? Not only that, a random unwilling person. That doesn't really seem to make sense for why. And additionally, the person who offers this, Gortash. Gortash is like at the point of that story was like a fucking nobody, right? Who was just sold to Raphael and somehow got contact with Zariel. Like it's like a child going up to the president of the United States and saying like, you nuke Malaysia, nuke Malaysia, nuke Malaysia. It's like, sure kid, sure. And that's Gortash in this situation. Gortash is this like random ass kid who has no real power or influence or anything, and Zariel's what? Like, sure, Zariel needed a test subject, but she had it, like an entire army full of it. And additionally, she could have just gotten some who were known to survive. Karlach's not the only person who could survive it. It would be weird to me if Karlach's literally the only person in existence who could survive, you know, her experiments, right? So again, this kind of misunderstands it. If I understand it correctly, Gortash didn't just sell Karlach to Zariel, he sold a lot of other people. Yeah, he also put an ad looking for sellswords, triggering everyone who showed Zariel. Again, this sort of misses the point of like, why does Gortash have any influence with Zariel? Like, why does Zariel care? You know, he points out in the video that like, how does Gortash even get noticed by Zariel? Sure, Zariel gets you know, messaged by Gortash, but why should she take it seriously, right? Like, this seems like a random snake oil salesman who just like goes up to a powerful person and says like, yeah dude, a powerful and smart person, let me just preface that, and like, yeah, do this thing and you'll be living forever. And it's like, seems suspicious, you know, especially with Zariel, who's supposed to be a very smart person, not a dumbass. Next point. If you lose, yeah, that's more just talking about this end. There's actually a line of dialogue that especially denotes Karlach's machine as an ancient or very early prototype of Steel Watcher Hearts. My conclusion from that was Gortash and Zariel work together to create an infernal engine. Zariel gets strong soldiers, and Gortash gets to create a steel watch, so that it's likely circumstance of the deal that was hinted at, not explicit stated in the mist. Okay, issue is, one, why does Gortash have any influence with Zariel? Why does Zariel care? Like, this is a weird, consistent problem that a lot of people are saying like, yeah, it makes sense because like Gortash and Zariel will work together. The issue isn't that they're working together. The issue is like, why? The question is, why are they working together? What are they getting out of it? Like, Zariel gets like some dudes, right? But like, Zariel could already get some dudes. She like, her plan for having her infernal engine tested didn't hinge on the fact that, you know, she couldn't get anyone, and Gortash was the only person who could supply her. I imagine she could, you know, get some mortals or use her own devil army as test subjects, or to have her own devil army to basically just get her people that could actually do the thing, right, to get tested. Like, she didn't need Karlach, right? And that's the weird thing. Yeah, sure, the Karlach's engine is a prototype for the Seal Watch, but this doesn't make any sense, because why was Karlach used, and why was Gortash even, you know, accepted to begin with? This is the issue that it seems like a lot of people don't really understand, you know? I actually think the characterization of Zariel is entirely with personality. As an angel who lost her way, she still has the a moral certainty that she always did, but now she uses to justify all her actions in many particular realms. I'm sure if she was called out on a deed, she would say something like this was necessary for the realms to survive, and the others for the abyss. If it means keeping them at bay, I will show no hesitation or indecision, even if it should be condemned, even if it should be condemned as a monster for it. My actions are utterly beyond your approach. I always read Zariel as whatever it takes type commander, willing to stoop to any lows because she views losing to the demons as a greater evil. And sure, this is true, but this does miss the point. Wait, certainly if an armed dealer like Gortash showed up and offering her most skilled bodyguard services. Okay, the difference is, this is missed the point of the whole characterization, which is Zariel will take anyone willing, but the thing is, Gortash as a person is like a nobody, right? At the time that Gortash contacted Zariel, they were a nobody, right? They didn't have any influence, they weren't really that known, and even if they were influenced, they weren't the type of people she deals with. She deals with, people in ludicrous amounts of power. The person she dealt with in Elturel was like the de facto leader of it, right? Who had all the power in that city. So, like, Gortash was a nobody, right? This isn't some weird thing. And this again misses the point that, yeah, sure, Zariel may be that kind of person who would justify her actions as being necessary, but it also misses the fact that Zariel still has some remnants of her, personality, which is she's not going to take anyone unwilling, right? She's only taking people who are willing. And one more, and then I'll get to my point. It is said in the game that Zara was looking for someone to test her infernal machine, so her end of the deal was getting a guinea pig on her project to get strong fighters to fight in the war. Gortash reached out and offered Karlach because he heard she was looking for someone who could survive it. Difference is, again, Zariel didn't need Gortash, right? Gortash wasn't the reason why Zariel could do anything, and that's the thing that I find a bit of an issue with, which and so the other guy also mentioned as well, which is, my guy, who needed you? Who needed Gortash to do anything? Is Zariel, like, incapable of finding mortals who are willing to be her test subjects? Additionally, like, is the only person in the entirety of the universe, entirety of reality, who could survive her test is Karlach? Like, that seems very implausible. And now my broader point of this is this. What I dislike a lot about Baldur's Gate 3 is that you are incapable of asking questions. And what I mean by this is not like, yeah, you can ask some questions, right? You can ask, and in this video, he shows the player asking Zariel, like, hey, what type of devils are there, right? Not just those questions, but more in-depth questions. And additionally, the sort of dialogue he chose, you can't really expand upon it. You can't really ask more questions. You can't ask Karlach what kind of does she, I mean, she obviously has experience, but what was her, like, favorite experience about that, or what was a notable experience like that, what were the dealings with it? And you can't really ask those questions. Like, another example is you can't really ask a Gale about his mother, right? Or even if he has a dad. Gale says he has a mom, but does he have a dad? You can't really ask that sort of thing. And another thing is, like, Astarion. What was Astarion's life before being a vampire? You understand that Astarion was a magister who did laws and stuff, and one of the laws he did got the Gurs in question, but you can't ask anything else. You can say, like, you can ask him, like, what was it like before being a vampire? It's like, I was a magister. You can't expand on that and saying, like, did you have friends before? Did you have family? Are they still around? Do they still live? Because you lived in Baldur's Gate, right? They must have tried to look for you, correct? Did they not care for you? What happened? And that's the thing that lacks for me in Baldur's Gate, which is you can't have this sort of in-depth knowledge. You get a cursory understanding, but it feels like the game wants you to fill the gaps in yourself, or you must have prior knowledge for any of the story to make sense. And in the video, XP2 level 3 says that it's fine, the story as is, it works. And while that may be true, I don't think that's an excuse. I don't think it's an excuse to just say, yeah, it's fine, it's whatever, it's okay. I still think you should expect the game to want to do more, to want to have the story make more sense. And Zariel is a product of that. you can't really ask. You can ask Karlach about Zariel, but you can't ask any other clarifying questions or follow-up questions. Nor can you ask Mazora about it. Mazora just says, "I work for the bitching ass Lady Zariel. She's cool, yeah." And it's like, okay, can I ask anything else? Like, who's Zariel? How'd she become, the the archdevil of Avernus? Like, how did that happen? Like, you get no backstory on Zariel. You don't understand that she's, you get like she's a fallen angel and whatnot, but you don't get like how she fell. Did she fall because of corruption? Did she fall because the devils around her corrupted her? What was the circumstances that led her to that? You don't get that. And in Baldur's Gate 3, there's no connection between why did Elturel get pulled into Avernus? You don't understand that. You don't really get the knowledge of that. No characters, not even Zevlor says why Elturel was pulled into Avernus. It's just like, yeah, it was pulled into Avernus. The player can't have any follow-up question, and that sucks because it makes the world feel a bit more artificial, because, well, I think it's natural and understandable that a person would want to ask about those sort of questions. And additionally, for, characters, so like the Origins ones, like the Dark Urge, it would make total sense for the Dark Urge to ask like questions left, right, and center, because they have amnesia, right? Like, what's an elf? what's a tiefling? Like, that would make sense for a Dark Urge to ask, because they have amnesia. And some of the other characters, it makes sense for a lot of them. Shadowheart, like, has no fucking memory of anything, right? So it would make sense that she would ask, what's an Elturel? And that's, again, just an issue I have with Baldur's Gate in general. There are other issues as well, but it just feels weird that you can't ask questions, and that, as a consequence, makes things like Zariel and whatnot a bit weird, because you don't really get any context about what she is. You just have to assume that she's a bad guy, that she was a good guy at one point but then became a bad guy, and that she pulled Elturel because of bad guy reasons, which isn't untrue, but it does miss a lot of vital context that sort of changes the nature of the conversation. Knowing that she, these are two different things. One, if she pulled it down because she's just an ass and just likes to do that, then yeah, sure, she's evil, right? She was a good person but then evil, and that sort of contrasts it, right? But two, if she pulled it because she had a connection with Elturel, and because she only did it not because she wanted to as revenge, but she did it because the person in charge contracted her to keep the city safe, well then, that changes the situation. That changes the nature of the entire context of it. Zariel didn't do it because she's an ass. Partly, sure. But she did it because, well, it meant something to her. The city was supposed to be this bastion who would ride her, with her to hell and to kill all the demons and end the blood war forever, but then left her. And she didn't take her revenge immediately afterwards. What she did is, when the opportunity arose, and when someone in charge of the Elturel said, hey, you can, protect the city from these sort of evil beings that are attacking us, and, I'll do this contract with you. And then she took a moment to strike. She didn't do it, she didn't just wait for it, she didn't just, do it randomly. There was a context behind it, and that changes it. And not having that changes her character and the view of her for the player. Because all the player then has to go on is whatever the player decides is true. And that really isn't bad, but it does mean, it's not as meaningful. But yeah. Anyways, that was a random rambling video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more, you can perfectly just subscribe, maybe even like, and perhaps look at these videos that are showing up. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. And also the video is pretty good. You should go watch it. And yeah, enjoy.